Okay, so you know how it is these days, right? You're online and you need to figure something out, and it's like suddenly you're just drowning in information.
Yeah.
It can be a huge time suck.
Yeah,
Well, today on the deep dive, we are going to do the heavy lifting on a topic that we know you care about.
absolutely.
We're going to be talking about two things that if you've used Google at all, you've probably seen: the Google Knowledge Graph and the Knowledge Panel.
Yes, and these are terms that people use kind of interchangeably sometimes,
Right.
but they're actually distinct in some really important ways. And so,
Yes. Understanding that difference is really what we're going to try to do today. We are
exactly.
going to unpack what each one is and why it actually matters for you.
Yes.
And we're drawing insights from a really fascinating article that was published just last month in February of 2025.
Okay.
Consider this like your express lane to clarity.
Yes. You've probably seen both of these in action without really maybe even fully understanding what they are individually and then how they work together.
Right.
And we're going to make those distinctions and I think really highlight why this is becoming so important, especially if you're trying to manage your online footprint.
Yeah, I think a lot of people will really appreciate this. Okay, so let's just get right into it. The engine, the brains of the operation. The Google Knowledge Graph.
Okay.
In the simplest terms, what is it?
Okay. So the Google Knowledge Graph is a massive database, and it's what's called a semantic database. And this basically means that Google is not just storing words, but it's actually understanding what those words mean and how they relate to real-world things like people, businesses, places, ideas.
Mm-hmm.
The Knowledge Graph gathers information from a huge variety of sources, and it analyzes it to figure out those connections and then links it all together.
Mm.
So when you type in a search query into Google, it's not just matching keywords. It's actually trying to understand the underlying concept and the relationships involved in what you're asking about.
So Google is trying to understand the meaning, not just the words. That's a really great way to put it.
Ex-
So what's the goal here? Why do all this work? What's the point of building this incredibly complex web of knowledge?
The main point of it is to give you better search results.
Okay.
So by having this structured understanding of the world and all of the connections between these different entities, Google can give you information that is more accurate, more comprehensive, and more useful.
Right.
It wants to move beyond just giving you a list of blue links and actually provide direct answers and deeper context.
Okay, so how does Google even get all of this information to build this in the first place?
Well, it's a huge effort, and it
Yeah.
pulls data from lots of different places.
Yeah.
But one of the main ways it does this is by just crawling and indexing the web like it does for regular search results.
Okay.
So if you have a website and it's properly indexed, the information on it is eligible to be added to the knowledge graph, but it also leans really heavily on sources that are generally considered to be trustworthy.
What are some examples of those trusted sources?
Yeah, so the article that we're referencing here points to a few key ones. So Wikipedia and Wikidata are huge. These are like massive collaboratively built encyclopedias
Yeah.
with a ton of structured data. And then official websites are really important too. So like company websites, official biographies.
Yep.
For local businesses, Google My Business is a direct feed of information.
Uh-huh.
And then also government and institutional databases are used as well,
Oh, okay.
which provide data on things like geography, historical events, even legal frameworks.
Wow. So it's a blend of like community-driven information and officially vetted information.
Exactly.
And it's used to try to understand the world, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have an idea of what it is, but how does it actually show up when we're searching? Like, how do we as users experience the knowledge graph?
Yeah, you see it in action in a few different ways. So one is through direct answers to questions. Like, for instance, if you ask, what is the capital of France? Google will pull that information straight from the knowledge graph pairs and display it right at the top without you having to click any links.
Right.
Another way is through related searches that you might see.
Yes.
So if you search for like Marie Curie, it might show you suggestions for other scientists because it understands those connections.
Mm.
And then there are also the enhanced search results for things like movies, books, and brands where you get quick facts about them, like the director of a film or the manufacturer of a product, all drawn from this interconnected web of understanding.
Right, like those little snippets of information. And sometimes there are even those panels that'll pop up on the side or at the top,
Exactly.
which leads us to the Google Knowledge Panel.
Yeah.
So is this just another word for the Google Knowledge Graph, or is it something totally different? Because the article makes it clear that they are not the same thing.
They're definitely not the same thing.
All right.
The knowledge panel is what you actually see in the search results page. It's that box that often appears on the right side of the desktop or at the top on mobile.
Right.
And it gives you key details about a person or a company or a place.
Okay.
The important thing to remember is that the knowledge panel gets its information from the knowledge graph and also the trusted sources that we were talking about.
So if the knowledge graph is like the engine that's doing all this complex information processing and connecting the knowledge panel is more like the dashboard
Yes.
that's displaying a curated selection of that information for us.
That's a great analogy.
Okay.
The purpose of the knowledge panel is to give you information in a way that's really quick and easy to understand.
Okay.
So instead of having to visit a bunch of different websites, you can get a summary of the important facts right there on the search results page. And this is something that's really important to think about as a business owner or an individual who's trying to manage their online presence. Because the knowledge panel is kind of like your digital business card
Right.
or your personal profile in the eyes of Google. And if you can actively manage that, you're not just optimizing for search, you're actually shaping people's first impression of you and hopefully building trust with potential customers or clients before they even click through to your website.
That's a really interesting point. Yeah, it's like your first impression in the Google universe.
Exactly.
So what kind of information is usually in these knowledge panels?
Typically, you'll find the name of whatever you searched for a brief description, often an image or a logo, and then details that depend on what the entity is. So for a person, it might be their birthday, where they were born.
Okay.
For a company, it could be the address and contact info, and you'll often see lists of notable works or achievements or the products they make.
And these knowledge panels don't all look exactly the same, right? The article mentioned different types.
Yeah, exactly. The information that is shown is customized based on what type of entity it is.
Okay.
So for individuals, you might see things like their profession science, major accomplishments, family members. For companies and brands, it's usually the industry.
Rare.
Their headquarters, key executives, places and landmarks might have location, opening hours, historical significance.
Right.
And then movies and events will have details like release date director, participating teams, all that good stuff.
So just to clarify, the vast majority of the data comes from the knowledge graph, but there is some flexibility for businesses to kind of manage what shows up in their panel.
That's right. The knowledge graph provides the core data and understanding, but businesses, especially through their Google My Business profiles, have some ability to tailor what's displayed.
Okay, this is all starting to really make sense now. So just to kind of hit the nail on the head, can you summarize like the main differences between the knowledge graph and the knowledge panel?
Yeah, so the main difference is that the knowledge graph is this massive database that's focused on understanding the connections and relationships between tons of different things in the world.
Oh.
And it's constantly analyzing and structuring information behind the scenes. The knowledge panel, on the other hand, is what you see. It's the visual display of a select piece of that information that's designed to give you quick, relevant facts within the search results.
And the article actually lays this out in a really helpful table. Let's walk through some of those features,
Okay.
starting with the basic definition.
Okay, so the knowledge graph is a database with all these interconnected entities, whereas the knowledge panel is the visual representation of the information in the knowledge graph.
Okay, great. And what's the function of each one?
The knowledge graph's function is to understand how concepts and entities are related to each other.
Okay.
And the knowledge panel's function is to present that information to you in a way that's easy to understand.
Okay. And where does the data come from?
So the data for the knowledge graph comes from a really wide range of sources like Wikipedia, Wikidata, official websites, all those kinds of trusted databases. And then the knowledge panel gets its information from the knowledge graph itself. But it can also use things like Google My Business or even suggestions from users.
What about interaction? Can we as users interact with either one of these?
Not really with the knowledge graph directly.
Yeah.
It's working behind the scenes.
Right.
But knowledge panels do let users suggest edits or corrections to the information.
Okay, interesting. And then finally, how does this all relate to SEO?
Okay, so the knowledge graph's effect on SEO is a bit more indirect. One of the best ways to kind of leverage it is through using what's called structured data on your website.
Okay.
So basically, this is like adding specific labels to your content that say things like, this is an address, or this is our logo.
Oh, so you're basically speaking Google's language.
Exactly. You're making it really clear what your content is about.
I see.
And the way to do that is through a framework called schema.org.
Okay,
That's basically a set of labels that Google understands.
I see.
And so using schema.org helps Google understand your website better,
Hmm.
which means it's more likely that your information will end up in the knowledge graph. The knowledge panel, however, has a more direct impact on SEO.
Okay.
For businesses having a really strong Google My Business profile and keeping your information on Wikipedia accurate can really influence how visible you are and what information is shown about you.
This is super insightful. Okay, so let's get to the part that I think everybody is really interested in.
Yes.
How can individuals and businesses influence their knowledge panel?
This is where the rubber meets the road, so to speak.
Yes, this is where it gets practical.
Exactly.
So what are some things that people can actually do?
So first and foremost, if you're a business owner, use Google My Business.
Okay.
This is really essential. It lets you manage information like your address, your hours, photos, customer reviews, which can all feed into your knowledge panel.
Makes sense. Manage your own information.
Yeah.
What else?
Given that Wikipedia and Wikidata are so important as sources for the knowledge graph,
Right.
making sure that your entries on those platforms are accurate, up-to-date, and neutral can really help you get a knowledge panel or improve your existing one.
Wow. So those are more important than I think most people realize.
I think so, yeah. And another method that's really effective is using structured data on your own website, like we were talking about with schema.org.
Right.
This basically makes it much easier for Google to understand your content and include it in the knowledge graph, which of course feeds into the knowledge panel.
So it's like giving Google a map of your website.
Exactly. And then finally, if you already have a knowledge panel, Google often allows verified entities to actually claim it and manage it.
Oh, wow.
So this means that you can suggest changes to the information that's displayed and request corrections.
So it's not a completely hands-off system?
No, not at all.
You can actually get involved.
Yeah, it does require a little bit of effort to stay on top of things,
Yeah,
but it's worth it because it can really improve your visibility and credibility online.
absolutely. So to recap, the knowledge graph is this vast, intelligent database that understands connections. And the knowledge panel is the easy-to-understand snapshot that we see in search results.
Right.
For businesses and individuals, understanding how these two work together and how you can influence your knowledge panel is super important.
Absolutely.
Okay, so now let's look ahead a little bit. The article talked about the future of the knowledge graph.
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting because the knowledge graph is constantly evolving, especially with all the advancements that are happening in AI.
Uh-huh.
Google's goal is to give even more precise and relevant answers to your questions,
Okay.
which means that the knowledge graph is probably going to get even smarter in how it understands the world. So taking the time to engage with these concepts now and make sure your online information is well structured is really only going to become more important
Right.
as AI shapes how we find information online.
Yeah, it seems like it's something that we can't ignore.
Yeah, and the article even mentioned that there's a separate in-depth guide on AI and business, which I think speaks to how big of a deal this is.
Yeah, it seems like something we should check out. Okay, so the article wraps up with an FAQ section that addresses some of the common questions people have about the knowledge graph and knowledge panels.
Yeah.
Let's just run through a few of those.
Okay.
First up, what is the Google knowledge graph?
In a nutshell, it's a giant database that links information about all sorts of things in the world.
Okay.
It's what makes Google's search results smarter and more aware of context.
Okay, and what is a knowledge panel?
A knowledge panel is that box you see in the Google search results that visually displays key information that's drawn from the knowledge graph.
Okay, and where does the information in the knowledge panel come from?
It comes to those trusted sources that we were talking about: Wikipedia, Google My Business, Wikidata, public databases, official websites, and structured data.
So can just anyone get a knowledge panel?
Not automatically.
Okay.
Google creates them for entities that are known to be important and well-established.
Okay.
But you can improve your chances of getting one by verifying your presence on Google My Business and Wikidata.
Okay, so if someone wants to try to get their own knowledge panel, what are the key things they should do?
First, build a strong online presence. So have a website, a well-maintained Google My Business profile, and accurate information on Wikidata and Wikipedia.
Okay.
Use structured data on your website and verify your identity with Google.
And if you already have a knowledge panel showing up, how do you claim it?
You can search for yourself or your business on Google and look for a link that says, "Claim this knowledge panel."
Okay.
You'll have to log into a verified Google account and then follow some steps to confirm your identity and association with the entity.
And once you've claimed it, can you make edits to it?
Yes. After claiming your knowledge panel, you can suggest edits through your Google account, and then Google will review them and make changes as needed.
Okay, great. A lot of people probably want to know this. Does the knowledge panel help with SEO?
Yes, it can really help with SEO
Okay.
because it improves visibility, credibility, brand authority, click-through rates, and it gives potential customers easy access to key information.
So it's definitely worth having.
Yes.
How long does it typically take for a knowledge panel to appear?
There's no set time frame. It depends on how strong your online presence is.
Oh,
Optimizing your information and using structured data can help it show up sooner, and verification can sometimes speed things up too.
okay. Last question. Can a knowledge panel just disappear?
Yes, it can if Google thinks that the information is no longer accurate or relevant.
Oh, okay.
This could happen if there are big changes in your online presence, if entries are removed from Wikipedia, or if your overall visibility declines.
So it's something that needs to be maintained.
Yes.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today. What are your final thoughts?
Just to emphasize that the knowledge graph is this incredibly powerful tool that understands how information is connected, and the knowledge panel is the way that that information is presented to us.
Right.
Understanding how they work together and how to manage your knowledge panel is becoming more and more important as the internet evolves.
Couldn't agree more. And on that note, I have a question for our listeners to think about. How will the evolution of the knowledge graph, especially with AI, change the way that we find and understand information?
Hmm.
And what steps can you take to make sure that you or your business are represented accurately online as this all keeps developing?
That's a good question.
It's a really important question for all of us to consider until our next deep dive. Thanks for listening, everybody.